Welcome to Whyte Noise. We were just bantering and having a great time, and I was like, screw it, I'm just going to hit record. So here we are. We're jumping in with 2 feet.
Yeah, I was being super professional and asking our guest what their name is.
Yeah. What is our guest name, Ryan? Let's see if you can do it.
So today we have with us Eric Galipo. Did I get right?
You did. You got it perfectly right.
Yes.
Now, when you have a apparently simply spelled name that everybody pronounces wrong, very early in life, you learn to stop caring, or else you will spend a lot of your life being miserable at what somebody has called you.
That's right, because it's spelled Galipo.
Correct.
So my instinct would be Galipo, but I'm also from Syracuse, and that's how we say things.
Right, because you're closer to Canada.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, you're Mr. Galipo, and this is my Aunt Miri Beery.
I get Wilder a lot. Is this Ryan Wilder?
You're like, if you were a Wheel of Fortune before and after category, you could be Ryan Wilder Valderrama.
Wait, but that's perfectly in keeping with our theme of TV reboots, though. So well done.
Didn't the other guy kill someone?
Wait, I think you're right. I think he did kill someone, but like on accident, right? Wasn't it like a Kennedy type killing?
How vulgar can this podcast get?
Let's find out.
Because Ashton Kutcher has certainly murdered Denny's, of course, vagina.
Oh, no. Which we all can see if we see The Substance. I haven't seen the movie yet. I just found out today, the movie The Substance with Demi Moore this year, that she does do very much a full nude scene in that, which I was like, good for you, Demi Moore. What do we feel about Luigi? Because the more I hear, the more people are saying that it's a conspiracy theory.
Well, I did see, I'm not super on social media, and I did see somebody break down like a series of like the McDonald's receipt, the bus number, the number of minutes he was on something in the city, but like he had this whole conspiracy around some sequence of 3 numbers. So I was like, oh, this has reached a whole new level.
Oh, it has.
He was operating off a conspiracy theory?
Well, wait, he was saying like the bill at McDonald's was, I'm just going to pick a random number, $6.28. And then he was on city bike number 628. And he took the 628 train from this on, and it was just like, I was like, really?
Wow.
Well,
and he's like, I'm not saying it's true, but, well, he is, you must admit he is, if I've heard if he's hot as shit, you must acquit.
Yeah.
So that's one. But, it is both sad and interesting to watch how many people had jumped immediately to the idea that it was in some way justified.
Yes. That's what I think is fascinating, that people are rallying around the murderer and not the guy that got shot.
I will tell you, I do understand that thought process, though. Like, had a little bit of, I can understand how dealing with any of those insurers could lead you to the point of wanting to kill someone.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, because you're in one of the worst places that you could possibly be in your life, and they're like, "Yeah, sorry, not going to help you."
And as of some reporting in the New York Times this morning, that there was a opinion piece in the op-ed, then essentially saying, and it was about why the influence of the Unabomber is more pervasive than we thought. And this was one of his apparent influences, was the idea of kind of vigilante justice. And I believe he had read the manifesto. And so while he obviously seems like a highly intelligent person and somebody driven by a desire for revenge, but also folk hero status, it's definitely not right, but we can understand how people have been starved for what I think is considered such a basic right in so many other places. And we certainly have the resources to make it happen for ourselves, yet we choose not to.
Yeah. I don't know. I just know that my phone was exploding in all the best ways.
Yes, I won't lie. I watched a lot of things.
Oh my God. A friend sent me, somebody made a fake Grindr profile for him and the name was Big Shooter.
Oh my God.
Like, the internet is really hard, but I love that it went from being like, oh, he's hot and these are funny memes, into like, wait, but maybe he didn't do it. Because what got it, people are comparing like his face to the screen, the security shot, and the eyebrows are different. And those eyebrows are distinct. like you could serve canapes off of those eyebrows. And like the guy in Starbucks didn't have those.
And as somebody with a distinctive eyebrow like yourself,
Thank you.
I would ask, is it possible that it could have grown that much in only 2 days?
I can grow hair very quickly. I sneeze and like grow a beard.
Do you guys both know he had an OnlyFans, and that was actually part of how he was covering his medical bills? We subscribed to it the other day.
Oh, really?
Wow.
To support his legal fees?
I'm just kidding. None of that's true.
Oh, damn it.
None of that's true.
I believed you.
I'm not gonna lie. If it was, I would probably subscribe. I would want to see.
Well, and I don't think being fascinated with murders is anything new. I mean, the whole premise of the musical Chicago is based around this, how murderers are sexy. And like, because people are like, this is terrible. And I'm like, since when is this new? This is such a human thing. Like, Jack the Ripper was probably sexy during the Victoria time. Like, all right, well, should we jump in? Do you have any questions?
Kind of. I mean, I'm supposed to rate you
Yes.
on appearance.
Yes. Well, it is a podcast, so it's all about the visuals.
Right, exactly. You both have voices for radio. I do want to let you know you've chosen an excellent candidate for this because I barely watch TV.
Fabulous.
So this is going to be very extemporaneous, and I believe that what I'm going to do is judge harshly.
So yes, Eric, you judge us. We each get 10 minutes to chitter chatter on about this topic. And we can talk, it can be a conversation. Like, feel free to interject as much as you like. It's not a TED Talk. There are no hardcore rules. Who would you like to hear go first?
I believe I'd like to hear from you first, Michael.
Great.
Yeah, I want the pressure on for Ryan. I want him to feel nervous. I want to see beads of sweat.
Good. He is the reigning champion. So as nervous as we can make him would be fabulous.
I actually would like to, before you start, I'd like both of you to give me your best sort of reality TV show tagline, or if you prefer, we could have you say, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to win.
I am Michael Judson Berry, and when it comes to this fruit, you don't just get the one, you get the entire fruitcake. Okay, Ryan.
So we decided that Michael was going to go. Ryan gets to do his when he gets his piece. Yeah. So you get some time to think, Ryan.
Let me know when my time starts, Ryan.
And go.
So TV reboots make me think of recently when all of a sudden, after Trump was elected the first time, and all of a sudden we got all these big 90s, early 2000s sitcom reboots. Like, I thought that was a really interesting moment, sort of sociologically speaking, like where people were really disillusioned, they were upset, and we were looking back to things that made us happy. Like, I feel like Will and Grace was one of the ones that started it, where because Will and Grace obviously was such a comfort show for so many people.
Did that get a reboot? Oh, it did get a reboot.
It did get a reboot.
Okay.
And that was actually the first thing that I thought of when I heard that the subject was reboots. It was like Will and Grace, because they did a special election episode because the cast and crew of Will and Grace were so sort of upset after Trump was elected. And they were like, what can we do? Like, how can we help people? Well, we were a show that brought comfort to a lot of people who felt disenfranchised because they were the first major television show starring a queer character. And then Jack, even though Eric McCormick is straight, but the fact that like it was a major network show about a gay man, even though he's played by a straight guy, was monumental. And then the fact that Jack was played by an out gay actor, that Sean Hayes was an out gay actor playing an out gay character, that really had never happened on a major network like NBC.
However, unpopular opinion maybe is like the heteronormativity of the ending of the first run, where they kind of become lovers and have a family that resembles a heteronormative family, always really sets uneasy with me.
Interesting, because I feel like that was Will's goal the entire series. He was always trying to essentially be like a heteronormative couple, but he always felt like a character who was also kind of struggling with his sexuality too. Like, he was very straight presenting, and whenever they had him do a very like gay thing, he always seemed like uncomfortable, which I'm with you.
That's the week. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but when I see straight actors portraying gay roles, I pick up on things that I like, shame that I don't feel.
Yeah, except for Eric, what's his name? Eric Stone Street. I think his name is from Modern Family, who played Cam. I thought that was a straight man who played gay brilliantly, where he played a flamboyant, stereotypical gay man, and never once did I feel he was being offensive. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he did a brilliant job. But, and I know Will and Grace has its issues. Like Jack is very much like a stereotype.
I struggled with Will and Grace, and it was because of that typecasting. And I mean, maybe a reflection of my own kind of like struggles coming out of the closet. But like, I was like, I'm not that sort of gay. And I'm like, I don't want to be seen, like I'm different, but yet this is how we're being portrayed, right? And I personally struggled with it because I was like, I'm not that guy, but this is what I feel like everyone feels like a gay guy is. And I struggled with it a bit.
As the elder statesman here, I will say that, when I was growing up and in grade school and high school, there really were no gay role models on TV. And even when Will and Grace came out, I was like, well, I'm not Will and I'm not Jack. I'm something sort of in the middle, and neither one of these people really resonate with me and so I always felt like, it's funny that the role models we are given are like either very masc presenting or very effeminate, flamboyant presenting. And it's sort of like most gay people, I think, are probably like really on a spectrum. And what I love is being both of those things. Like, Well,
I remember when it was on, like, and especially as I got older and like came out and had gay friends, a lot of them were like, are you a Will or a Jack? Like you were sort of it was sort of like the gay version of Sex and the City, where it's like, are you a Charlotte, Miranda, Samantha, or Charlotte? Like, are you one of them? And with the gay, we had two options, mask presenting or more effeminate.
Well, it's sort of like when straight people ask you if you're the guy or the girl of the couple.
No.
I wanted to be Will so badly because I thought he was so handsome. And I had so many ribbed turtleneck sweaters because of him. One thing I will say, problematic or not, what it gave us was Karen Walker, which she had some of the best one-liners, I think, in television history. And I do remember seeing an interview with Glenn Close, who recurred on it. And she did say when it was on, a lot of celebrities wanted to be on that show because the writing was so tight. It was so funny. And it did give us Leslie Jordan, or Beverly Leslie, who I think is also one of the great TV characters where he's like, Karen Walker, I knew I smelled gin and regret. Like,
and this is not my disdain about the kind of problematic premise is not to take away from the good acting work of all of these very talented actors, right? Megan Mullally is like next level, and all of them really are.
And the fact that she read for Grace originally and was supposed to be Grace. And then I love the evolution of Karen when she started and didn't have the voice. And it took her like a full season to find that Karen Walker. It's like Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek. Like it took her 4 seasons to find that accent.
Somebody you're very familiar with.
Just a little bit. Just a wee bit. Like people say the Moira Rose, they're like, you do Moira Rose. I was like, no, I do Moira Rose season 4. Like that's the accent that I do.
So I was going to say, you made me go, well, I chose to go look. You didn't make me do it. But I was trying to like, what was the first real gay character that I thought I identified with on TV? And do you guys remember Max from Happy Endings?
Yes. I actually, Ryan, and same. He was the first gay character that I was like, I see myself in him. He's sort of slovenly and collects boxes. I totally got it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so after post-Trump, so they all got together. The creators got the set out of storage and they wrote this one special episode, and it was like a TV special. And it was all about the election. And the premise was that Grace was hired to redecorate the White House for Trump. And she didn't know how she felt about it. And then, of course, Karen voted for Trump because she knows him. And and so they made it this thing where it was like Karen had to sort of like learn why voting for Trump was like wrong for her friends, for her 2 gay friends, and how Grace was super conflicted. She was going to get paid a lot of money to redecorate the Oval Office. But like, how did she feel about taking a job that went so against her moral feelings?
Isn't this like a magical straight woman story? Like if we could sort of like take essentially there are these, all of the power to impact the outcome of these queer individuals is in the hands of straight women.
Of these 2 straight women. And how true was that? Because I feel like the reason Trump was elected that first vice was because of like white women. Anyway, not just white women, but like I remember a lot of people.
Oh, it was a heavy influence. Yeah.
I mean, but that special did so well that they were like, screw it, let's bring it back. And I remember that was like one of the first ones where they did it. And it was they hated the ending of the original series. And so they were like, great, we can actually most people hated that ending. So they're like, well, we can fix the ending. So I remember how they came up with this ridiculous where they were like, it was just a dream. Karen was just drunk. Let's pick up where we left off. And I have to say, the first season of the reboot, I loved. Oh, is that my time?
What I think is interesting about your dive into the reboot went to directly for all three of us. I think maybe the fact that the three of us are queer men, and that our reaction to it is like, oh, this is a show that we all related to.
Yeah, it actually worked. I like where we ended up going. This was good.
Now, Ryan, don't you think I forgot? You need to give us your Housewives of Northern New Jersey, right? House Husbands of Northern New Jersey tagline.
I'm Ryan Welder, and in this kitchen, the knives are sharp. The stakes are high, and only one chef will rise to the top. Let the battle begin.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That was
only
very
one chef.
good. Gird your loins, ladies. Get out your fleets, because your 10 minutes starts now.
All right, awesome. So I jumped all over the place, and I originally kind of went into Fuller House, and I just didn't get drawn into it as much as going to something that I absolutely love, which was Arrested Development.
Such a good show.
Is that a reboot?
I don't think that counts as a reboot.
Reasons for it.
Okay. Wow. This is like he was ready for debate club.
Convince me, because I disagree. I don't think it's a reboot.
I think it's a continuation. I think it's like sequels that are spread out.
But I do love Arrested Development, so please talk about it.
So it was a 7-year gap between the last episode and when Netflix then picked it up.
Oh.
And season 4 was a reformat. So it didn't follow the same format that all the prior seasons had followed. It was actually one storyline told from the perspective of each character. And apparently they had to do it that way because of
filming schedules.
Correct.
Yes.
So it was absolutely a reboot.
Okay, we'll give you. Okay, you win. You convinced us.
Let's look to the judges, like Alex Trebek used to. Judges say okay.
I'm gonna snarkily put on chapstick and listen. It's fine.
So I think the kind of interesting thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual reboot itself, is so Netflix acquired it, and they acquired it because of how intense the fans were. And apparently it's considered one of the first kind of fan-driven internet era crazes for a show that brought it back. But in short, they did it because they knew it had a huge following. They wanted to establish better credit with content creators, so they gave Mitch Horowitz pretty much free reign to do whatever he wanted and the cast members to do whatever they wanted. And I heard this kind of crazy story about Tobias Fuke, who's David Cross, and the executives at, I think it was Fox. Yeah, it was Fox who originally did it. One of the executives didn't like people having mustaches. So apparently the day of the very first shoot, there was a whole phone call thing back and forth where we got the mustache approved. They've said it's okay. They get it. It makes the character funny. Sort of thing. So by going to Netflix, it gave it kind of a full free reign. It was also about rebuilding relations with content creators because they wanted to show
back to this mustache bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, who does like mustaches? They feel good down there. Oh. No. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm okay.
This is David Cross. Yeah. His mustache was approved. Thank God.
It was. And actually, this is kind of another fun fact. Apparently, at the very end of season 3, they knew it was going to happen, or they knew it was likely to get canceled. So they actually did a Save the Bluths episode, and they intentionally got Burger King to do some sponsored advertising because they were like, yeah, we got to make money to keep this thing alive. They talked about the fact that like it obviously, so I didn't know this, but apparently the Enron scandal was kind of the basis for the concept of the family, and it was focusing in on like a lot of the corruption that was taking place, as if it's changed.
I mean, things are much less corrupt now.
Oh no, we're a much better place with everything.
Yeah, totally. Morality is back.
It was considered it was actually considered an anti-sitcom because it wasn't a feel-good thing.
Now, it also doesn't have a laugh track, correct?
No, it's not multicam. And it was one of the first like docu-style ones, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was like a comedic documentary is how they kind of like labeled it.
Well, doesn't that flow from like the Christopher Guest Best in Show oeuvre in that way? It's almost kind of like, when I think of Spinal Tap and Best in Show and The Almighty Wind and all of those things, it kind of fits into a category with that.
Well, I was going to say, I think it was the first time that I was just trying to think. So by the way, Hurwitz worked on Golden Girls and worked on The Ellen Show. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there when you brought that up, Eric, I was kind of thinking about like, what else did he work on that may have kind of led to that outcome? And I was like, did I hear that but I think I like your point. It's almost like there was a parlay from movies into TV with the style.
Yeah.
Well, and it kind of fits better into almost, the 23-minute format than something that you have to witness over a lot of time. And another movie that falls into that category is Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is definitely which if you haven't seen, you should go out now. It's hard to find actually online.
Well, because it's so not PC. Like it does not hold up.
It does not hold up. It's like
so funny.
The writing is like, you're like, ooh, cringe. It is Cringeville.
But it's very funny.
Do you know what was like kind of categorized as the like anti-Arrested Development was Friends. So and it made me think for a second, have any of you gone back and watched Friends and how fucking problematic that was?
Yeah. Well, even I talk about Will and Grace, if you go back and watch it, you're like, oh no.
I mean, the most problematic thing about Friends is definitely that we're supposed to believe that apartment was affordable for a waitress.
Exactly. And that she could afford those highlights. Like Rachel could not afford the Rachel. Like, let's be real.
She ended up fairly well. She ended up working for Polo, right?
Yeah.
Or Ralph Lauren, excuse me.
Speaking of Arrested, can I steal some of your time and tell my favorite Arrested story about Liza Minnelli? Because Liza Minnelli was on Arrested Development. Bashta! And her character famously had vertigo. Apparently Liza, they booked her for it. Such a rando guest star, but she was like, game to do anything. Got to give Liza that. I guess she got on set and they were like, okay, Liza, this is your stunt double. And she was like, no, she goes, I don't need a stunt double. And they were like, well, yeah, you do. She goes, I know how vertigo works. I researched it. And then she just dropped to the floor and rolled across the room. And the producers were like, that's not how vertigo works. But they were like, but that's so much funnier than what we had. So no one told her. They were like, we just no one tell Liza how vertigo really works and we'll just film it. So all of those weird Liza moments where she has her vertigo moments where at one point she literally just rolls down a driveway. That was just how Liza Minnelli personally thinks vertigo works. And just no one told her differently.
Really the easiest way to make the world move as if you had vertigo, if it was spinning.
Yeah.
Than spinning.
She would just throw herself at the wall and then roll over a couch. And apparently had the best time doing it. But anyway, that's my Liza story.
Do you remember the chicken dance? They all had a chicken dance.
A cool little.
Yes, and apparently that was another one of these where they told them all to do the chicken dance all at the same time, but none of them actually know how to do it. So they all had their own interpretations of it. And it looks crazy because the producers were, and the director was basically like, yeah, this is nuts. Fits right in with the overall,
the brilliance of that show.
So Michael, I have a question. I was always under the impression that a large part of Arrested Development was improvised, or is it scripted that tightly?
So I actually have some answers for you.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So actually, I saw an interview with all the cast members where they openly talked about that the script was so damn good. It actually made it hard for them to improvise. But Michael Cera and Jessica Walters both improvise frequently. Apparently Sarah was more off the cuff, but Jessica Walters was known for bringing a different level of acting to
Yeah.
the reactions.
yeah.
Like, so, because if you remember, Lucille was fire. Like,
Oh, Lucille
crazy.
walked so Karen Walker could run.
Wait, no. Isn't Karen Walker before Lucille?
No. Oh, maybe. I thought Lucille came first. But anyway, she to me is the quintessential drunk rich woman. Oh, that's
brilliant.
the time, but I want to keep talking about Jessica Walters.
Will and Grace, we're going to find out.
Jessica
when it
Walters
started.
gave us, I think, again, one of the best quotes in a TV show that actually is relevant now, where she's like, how much could a banana cost? $10? And these days it does. She's not wrong. Sorry, Ryan. What were you going to accuse it? Like,
no, I was gonna say there's so many effing quotes from that show. Like, I like the one where David Cross or Tobias is like, Michael, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
yeah.
And it's where he painted his whole body blue to for the Blue Man Group.
I mean, two characters, actually, speaking of the things we've talked about, two characters I would love to see have lunch is Lucille and Karen Walker. Because they both, like, could you imagine, how many martinis they would polish off? But the one-liners alone from those two
the back and
would
forth.
be...
Yeah. Oof, the
what is it? I
banter.
love all my children equally. I never cared for Job.
I
Like,
never cared for Job.
They would be amazing. So Will and Grace is 1998.
okay.
And they had 11 seasons, and Arrested Development is 2003. So
Oh, so
5-year
Karen-
difference.
Karen
Yeah.
did come first.
Three to
But I
six.
guess if you put them in the same Earthbound timeline in this version of the multiverse, then in theory, Lucille did come first because she must be older than
older.
Karen Walker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I assume Lucille is at least 5 years older than Karen.
I would assume so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great show, though. I mean, this is making me want to go back and rewatch both of these shows, to be quite honest.
I have a few other I think fun facts that I thought were
Oh,
entertaining.
We're
Go
10
for
minutes
it.
up, and we haven't gotten to the talent portion.
I did a Moira impression for you. I have done voices.
I believe you've also just lost the poise category.
Remember,
I did an unsolicited striptease, which no one noticed.
saw the nipple.
Boop, that's when we turned off the camera.
Okay, Ryan, selfishly, I want to hear, because I love Arrested so much, I want to hear more of what you looked up.
The other really fun fact I thought was that if Tony Hale, Buster, Mother Boy, so there's an episode where a loose seal, and I love how it's loose seal, like Lucille eats. This is the intelligence of this show. Lucille bit his hand off, and he had a hook for hand, but he chose to use a real hook, and apparently they had to be careful. It was like everyone had to acknowledge that it was there, and everyone, because it would stab things. And it was literally dangerous on set with the real hook.
Crazy.
We didn't even talk about the connection between Ellen DeGeneres. This is like six degrees of Ellen DeGeneres, because Portia de Rossi and Anne Heche, that we've talked about in this episode, are all connected to Ellen,
Yeah,
who is also Me Too'd.
that's right.
Wilder Valderrama. Brian Wilder Valderrama.
Oh my God. Eric, I swear to God, if you pronounce yourself the winner for tying this entire episode together,
It's acceptable. It's happened before.
then to be fair, I say go for it.
And that is very much like the outcome of Drop Dead Gorgeous.
True.
Oh my God.
You are the best and the most smartest.
All right. Well, I do want to go on record to say that you both come across as very poised and talented. And I appreciated the television reboot. So I'm just going to give you a few notes that I took here. Right? Okay, right. Michael, you drop your T's. Now,
It's funny you say that. I had that's a Syracuse thing. We drop our T's. It's fine. You might be joking, but it's actually true. I do, and I've had multiple voice teachers get on my case about that. And I had one voice teacher who, honestly, that was his biggest pet peeve with me, was that I would drop my T's. So it's funny you say that, because that's a real thing.
I just meant that you were dropping truth all over this.
I literally do drop a lot of truth.
I appreciated that you went for the nostalgia. You both chose very different things, if you don't mind me saying, is that you chose a very sort of what I think to be a sort of rigid sitcom thing, right? 23 minutes. It's this kind of, the problems are internal to the episode. And while there is something that pulls them all together, they do exist separately. On the other hand, what I would say about Arrested Development and the fact that it is rebooted is that the jokes build and build and build over years and seasons. There are things that you are talking about in the fourth season that harken back to a joke in the first season. Whereas in Will and Grace, that is typically done through plot elements. They're like, remember when that happened? But in Arrested Development, the way that you are reminded of old episodes and old shenanigans is through like an expansion of the joke. So this is me saying I probably like Arrested Development better. Now, I'm not... I just as a show, right? That's more in my wheel. Like, this is my lane. It's zany. Like, there's lots of double entendre. It's brilliant. Like me. So there are these, right? So I relate. I see myself in Arrested Development. I don't see myself in Will and Grace, except that I might be just gay enough.
Just gay enough.
Am I supposed to choose which show I like better? Because I just kind of buried the lead there, didn't I?
Well,
right?
you said, but no, it's about which one of our little things you like better. Because I will say, I picked Will and Grace because it was started the reboot trend. So mine was meant to be about the trend, because I was going to talk about Roseanne and Murphy Brown.
Genesis story. Oh, I had never watched the Murphy Brown
reboot. And they were all in response to Trump's first election. It was like this harken back to 90s sitcoms in general. But I just really like that where we went with the Will and Grace one. But if I'm to argue my case, that was the point of bringing it up.
Okay, got it.
It just happened to me that we didn't get to that. I had facts about Roseanne and Murphy Brown as well.
Eric, that was Michael's very nice way of saying we cut him off a lot.
No, I loved it. I loved it a lot. I'm thrilled when people cut me off. I'm just saying, I know that you're going to pick Arrested Development over Will and Grace. So I'm just trying to get you off of Will and Grace.
I'm going to declare multiple winners. I'm going to treat it like the Golden Globes. I'm going to be like best argument in the form of a comedy, right? And so I believe that like better show for me, my personal opinion and sort of what I gravitate definitely in the Arrested Development category. It's more sardonic and wry, and there's a little bit more meat there, in my opinion. I will say, Michael, what I was, should I just come out as like not a Will and Grace fan?
Well, that's apparent.
I will turn off. But what I will say is, you reminded me of the fact that sometimes you have to let something about the past, you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good in something like that. It's not a perfect show, but it did something to advance awareness and exposure and representation in a way that, maybe I should accept as important and valuable for the community in general, right? Because we're all members of this community. So I feel like I can talk about it. So you win on the this is the sitcom reboot as humanitarian award.
Okay. Listen, I have won nothing in recent memory, so I will take a Golden Globe supporting win.
Best social movement in a sitcom, Will and Grace. Between these two, and the category, and the nominees are Arrested Development and Will and Grace. Will and Grace wins that.
So. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank your Globes.
Right. So I believe it's a tie. There's only two awards in our award show.
Oh, we both won right. This is. I love this. Thank you,
Michael. I'm hoping this is broken.
I will take this as a monumental win.
The Lifetime Achievement Award.
It may be a tie, but listen, it's a big step forward for me.
He got an Oscar, but it was an honorary one.
It's a non-competitive. Or I'm like Aaron Tveit when he won a Tony and he was the only actor nominated in his category. So like if he lost, that would have been a real bummer.
Right. Winner in a completely unexpert panelist category judge. Right.
Yes. Listen, win's a win, and I will take it.
You
The truth.
should.
So what is our category for next time?
Roller skates.
Oh,
Roller skates.
ooh, I love that.
I think roller skates, it could be about your experience at the roller rink, which I have to say, as somebody who grew up in the Northeast, was kind of like formative and part of my understanding of like what you did for birthday parties. And I'm also, again, I will mention I am much older than you two. So there were a lot of roller rinks when I was growing up because we didn't have cell phones and the internet. And so there was like, that's what you did on a Saturday night. So could be roller skates, could be your, the old adage of how do you know, what's the hardest thing about rollerblading?
What is it?
Telling your parents you're gay.
I've never heard that.
I think the new adage is, what's the hardest thing about driving an electric car?
Telling your parents you're gay.
To be fair, the only people I know who own electric cars are all gay men. So rollerblading. I'm thrilled. This is going to be fabulous.
Roller skating. I don't care. It's any wheel that you put on your foot.
Oh, because there were those
foot
sneakers with
apparatuses.
wheels. Okay, so any rolly footwear.
Yeah, roller footwear, like things that are meant to make you feel like you're on a moving platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because that opens it up a bit.
Yeah.